Hello everyone, today we're gonna look at the two decks that I'm planning to play for Unleashed. It's a legend from set 1 that you probably know, it's Viktor. And also I'll probably be playing Fiora because this is one of my most played deck in set 2. And she gets a decent amount of very good cards, so I'm looking forward to play her. So let's just jump into the list that I will be testing at the start. So first of all, Viktor. So the new cards that we got for Viktor in Unleashed is the Shadow Call, that's right there. We got the Sprite Fontaine, and the Sprite Burst. So those are the three new additions to the deck. Shadow Call is a great card. It gives a little bit more draw power to a color that didn't have a ton. Also, the cost of giving temporary to a unit is pretty easy to do in Viktor, since we can just give it to a recruit token and then we can send that token to either do a trade or just to do the conquer. We have the Sprite Fontaine, which I think is an excellent card. As I said in the what's holding for Viktor and Unleashed, this is my favorite card. It still stays true. And it gives us accelerate pretty easily, like we have pretty consistent access to acceleration. Another very nice interaction is that with Zin, we can play a Sprite Fontaine and we can make a recruit token, and then with Zin, it is also accelerated. Before, if we wanted to have double acceleration, it was really difficult to do. Just doing double Zin and meeting the requirement of 2 units was super hard to do. And if we wanted to do Watcher token and Zin, that was literally, I think, 12 runes. So, not super accessible. However, now it's super easy. So even if we get fully board wipe, we have very easy access to acceleration thanks to the Sprite. So honestly, the Kaiser matchup should be much better now. Let's have a look at the battlefield strategy. So we have a new card from Unleashed in the battlefield. It's the Dust Rose Lab. This is our game 1 battlefield. We can just put it blind. It's very good with the Sprite in general. It pressures the opponent to clear the Sprite, even though it's gonna die, so they waste resources just to prevent us from drawing one. Also, I found that when going second, just playing the Sprite Fontaine and a token is genuinely not that bad. Sure, you deramp early, which kinda sucks, but you already score, and you most likely get a draw out of it. And then you can do the same thing with the second Sprite, and it's a lot of pressure for the opponent to deal with. So Dust Rose Lab so far has felt, good. Like, there is games where it gets me to draw like 3-4 cards, and it's absolutely huge in Viktor. And there is also games where it's definitely less impactful, but so far, I like the card. Our going first is, of course, Arena's Greatest. I think it remains one of the best battlefield for Viktor. It's super hard to win against Viktor on Arena's Greatest, so definitely this is a stay. And Treasure Hoard, of course, as our going second. Our deck got a little bit more power hungry with the Sprite Fontaine, of course, and it's not uncommon to want to play it turn 1, turn 2. So the gold generation is definitely more important than ever. So now if we look at the deck in general, apart from the new cards, we have 3 Stupefy, which is obviously pretty standard in Viktor, and cheap combat trick that gets us to draw. That's very good. We have Bellows Breath, 3 of them. I mean, it's same thing. It's an excellent card with Watcher and Imperial Decree. A small change I made is adjusting the 2 drops. I removed the Honest Broker for Plundering Poro, because basically Honest Broker is only better against decks that remove you, and mainly Kaisa, because of Extech Ray. Because if you get your Plundering Pro Extech Ray, of course you don't get the gold, and that's not great. But otherwise, against everything else, the Plundering Pro is very nice. He can generate like 2 golds like relatively easily. We of course have the package of Viktor, Cull, Hidden Blade. That's pretty classic. We have some units, Lector and Yodel, get a body, draw 1, just get a little more tokens. Wedges of Pain, Zinzao, it still remains an absolute menace, is so good. Only 2 Imperial Decrees. I mean, of course, 3 could break your hand, and we also don't really know the meta very well yet. So depending on the meta, you might want to put the 3rd one in the main deck. But for now, we can stay at 2 since the meta is uncertain, and we can see how it's gonna develop. 2 Singularities and 3 Watchers, so all around some pretty classic cards. Even though Viktor didn't get a lot of new cards, I do think that Sprite Fontaine and Shadow Call are actually a good addition. And it fixes the deck problem, which is if you got fully removed, it was hard to keep scoring, which now is feasible with the Sprite. And also, of course, the draw power. And this kinda gets fixed with Shadow Call. So let's have a look at the sideboard. Of course, we have the 3rd Imperial Decree that, bring in, matchups where they play a lot of big units. I know, for example, Irelia could be set. That's performing decently well in China. We also have 2 safety inspectors. I think it's a great sideboard card. It's very good against Irelia. So if she ever picks up, well, it's there. Of course, against Aurora, that everybody is talking about. It's also an excellent card against it. And we have a little bit more, I guess, Aurora hate with the 3 Salvage and the Ash. Ash also serves like, not only is it like Aurora hate or anything, it just gives information on the hand, which is pretty good. And the 3 Salvage, of course, it's an excellent card to do some gear hate in yellow, gets you to draw a card. There is an argument that can be made that if Aurora and Irelia or gear decks in general are very popular, then we probably want to slide one of the Salvage in the main deck. You will have to find space for it. It could eventually be the removal of the Sprite Burst. Mostly if the purple Vex becomes really prevalent in the meta, Sprite Burst probably has to go, and we can slide in a Salvage or the Imperial Decree, or we can just add another Shadow Call and a Salvage. So keep that in mind, depending on your local meta. And we also have a Facebreaker, and I would love to pump Facebreaker to 2, which, you know, is possible if we move a Salvage from the side into the main deck. Because I think Facebreaker is excellent against LeBlanc. If he pushes with a Glass Mixologist or even with his LeBlanc champion unit on a token and we just Facebreaker, then, well, it's just done and goes back to base. Since LeBlanc has so little acceleration in the deck, Facebreaker is absolute, like, terrible card for him. It loses so much tempo and gets to sit in base while we just get more and more points, and then we can just close the game with the combo Imperial Decree and Beller's Breath, and there's nothing they can do about it. So definitely Facebreaker, if I could bump this to 2, that'd feel pretty good. I think I'll go over basically everything around Viktor. The deck kind of plays like the same than in the set before, but there is a couple new lines with the Sprite Fontaine, like if you want to play it early game or not, there is some interesting decisions. As I said, the only changes that I could see is eventually the Sprite Burst. This is the only card that I'm kind of uncertain. This could be cut for, as I mentioned, like Salvage in main deck, Imperial Decree, or another Shadow Call. So that's it for Viktor. So now moving on to Fiora. So this is the build of Fiora that I'll be testing for the start of set 2. As I said, like, trying to branch out a bit on other decks, and Fiora is one of the decks that I played the most in set 2. So what are the new additions from Unleashed? Fiora get a lot of new tools. And also one of the reasons why I wanted to show the deck, because we get Sacrifice, which is an excellent card, so you get to kill a unit, and you draw 2 and channel 1. The unit has to be mighty. So that's excellent. We also have Grim Resolve, which is a pretty decent combat trick. It kind of sucked in the past where you had to use a punch first just to win a combat by 1 or 2 might. And Grim Resolve is just a very cheap combat tricks that gives you XP on top of that. And the card has felt like pretty solid so far. We have the Shepherd's Heirloom, which basically would replace Doran's Blade. It gives you an XP, and for 1 XP you can directly send it and attach it, so it basically makes you draw ramp for free, which is very nice. And we have Grim Resolve to kind of feed the XP to be able to re-equip the Shepherd's Heirloom. And usually if you win 1 fight with the Grim Resolve, then you have enough XP for the rest of the game. Then the question is if the Shepherd's Heirloom is better than the Run Blade or not. I don't know yet if the one is better or not. I feel like that if we don't play Shepherd's Heirloom, there is less incentive to play Grim Resolve, and we might as well want to play, like, I know, Call to Glory, an extra 1 and other Sabotage instead of Grim Resolve. But so far it didn't feel like super horrible. I think you need to preserve the units that you attach the Shepherd's Heirloom to, which you already look into. It's very nice to play Fiora, attach the Shepherd's Heirloom to it, make her mighty, and now she's like 6 and 7 in defense. And you keep ramping. You know, so far I like the card, but we'll see on the long run if the run plays ends up being better. And also, I want to mention that we have also Lucian in the deck, and Lucian cannot pick up the Shepherd's Heirloom with the Weapon Master because Weapon Master reduces biopower, and Shepherd's Heirloom equip cost is an XP. Moving on, we have the Kinku Initiate, which is honestly a solid card. Like, it doesn't do a lot when you just look at it, but that extra consistency in the deck is very nice. Like, you rarely have a hand with absolutely no cards now, since you have a lot more ways to actually see them, since you have Sacrifice, you have the Kinku Initiate, Unsung Hero, of course, and you have some of the battlefields. So Kinku Initiate has a 2-off, very nice. Also, you can summon it back with the Spectral Matron, so some very neat interactions. And the last new addition is the Ash. As I mentioned, even in Viktor, Ash is an excellent card. In Fiora, it's also 4 might, so you can make it mighty to pay back the cost of playing her, and just seeing the hand of the opponent and taking a card hostage is just very good. There is some scenarios where she kind of sucks though, mostly if you're behind. Playing Ashe and then the opponent just gets to instantly hold is obviously pretty bad, so I think that's why one copy of her and just one sabotage is a nice mix of both. But Ashe is definitely very good. Like against the block, you can hold hostage some key pieces like the turtle, for example, or I mean a watcher or any of that. Like that's very good. So now we can have a look at the BF. The battlefield is like no new additions from Unleashed. So our game 1 battlefield is Monastery, of course. It's relatively neutral for every deck, and we have ways to generate some buff with the Pit Rookie, and we have the set brawlers as well, which is, you know, basically it, but that's good enough. Our go second is the Sunken Temple. We usually have like a floating mana up, so it's nice to go with Lucian, go on it, pay 1, and then we can retreat Lucian back and get the free draw. And our go first is Trifarian Warcamp. The idea with Trifarian Warcamp is to play a 2-drop, then push the 2-drop on Trifarian, and then we can play our champion it, which is Fiora Victorious. Just like that, we have 8 might and we have 9 in defense, and it's pretty hard to deal with, especially if you hide a Hidden Blade. That's basically the idea behind the battlefields. So I'll just erase all of that. And talking just quickly about the main deck, of course, we don't have any Fiora worthy in the deck. The reason for that is that we already have 3 First Mate and a Spectral Matron, and also we have Lucians, so we should be proactive enough into the game. And we can always threat both battlefield with Lucians, because we can conquer, then bring him back to base, and now I can obviously go on both of them. I could see her in the sideboard, of course. In some very specific matchups, I think against Viktor, Fiora worthy is probably good, because he kills a lot of your units, so it's hard to have them to stick around. But if Viktor is gonna fall off a bit, then there's not really any good reasons to have Fiora worthy at the moment. And Fiora Victorious, I just felt like a very solid unit. If you go first, you have a pretty good curve. By just playing Shepherd's Heirloom, for example, and then you play Fiora worthy, you can attach it to her. And just like that, she's mighty, you ramp, like it's very good. You can obviously play a 2-drop, then play Fiora worthy, like it's just very good for the curve in general. Moving on, we have one Sabotage. I mean, Sabotage is an excellent card in our range, of course, like seeing the hand and removing some important gears or spell is just crazy, so we need at least one. If I could slot a second one in, I definitely will, but it's pretty tight in the deck, so one is good enough for now. Punch First, I mean, that's just Punch First is very good. It's so much might for 1 energy is pretty crazy. Pit Rookie and Unsung Heroes are excellent 2-drops for the deck. Challenge is a very good removal tool. Hidden Blade, 2 of them. You don't necessarily want to draw with them. It's mostly to remove big threats. Or on your Trifarian Warcamp game, you can, when you stack both Fiora and the 2-drop, you can also hide a Hidden Blade, and I mean, 9 times out of 10, the opponent's gonna go on the other side. And then you can gank over with the Fiora worthy to challenge and go to 3. Call to Glory is, I think, as a one-off, is a pretty threatening card. I mean, it's free cards are always good in card games, and be able to just spend a buff and out of nowhere you gain +3 can generally just make you win the game on the spot, because you win that one fight and this guy didn't play around it. Also, one of Call to Glory, you love to see it. It makes the math very difficult, and is also just a good combat trick. It has reaction speed, which is that if you're targeted by a spell, I know a Singularity or a Falling Star, you can just spend the buff and save your unit. 3 First Mate is definitely a must in most orange decks, and especially in this deck since we don't have the Fiora worthy. Lucian, as I mentioned, is the best 3-drop into the game, and it also helps fixing going second a lot, because if you play him, then you can probably do the Conquer, or even like, I know, hit the unit for free, and then you don't let him in a spot where he could get trade back, so you can just retrieve him back to base, and as I mentioned, you can thread both battlefield, so it's just an amazing unit. It's really, really good. BF Thwart is just an insane equipment. It's so much might. It of course pairs really well with the Unsung Hero, so 3 of them is a no-brainer. Spectral Matron as a one-off, we can bring back a lot of very good drops, like we can bring back First Mate, which is really good. We can bring back Unsung Hero if we want to use more draw powers, even a Pit Rookie if we want to buff something or spend it, and the Kinko Initiates for the draw. So there is a lot of good targets, which makes Spectral Matron, like, you know, pretty interesting. And finally, 2 set brawlers. You could have 3. I only own 2, and I'm not really looking to buy a 3rd one. And I also think that 2 is probably enough. Even the games where I don't see set brawler, I don't necessarily feel like, damn, if I had a third one, like the game would be completely different. So I think 2 is the right number for set, and I'm not really looking to add another one. I generally don't know what to cut at this point in the deck list. And if we want to have a quick look at the sideboard, of course, the meta is not settled yet, but we have 2 Sabotage. Against Aurora, it's obviously amazing. You can just remove the Aura off their hand. Against any decks that's holding like combat tricks, it's very good. There is a game where I was playing against Azir and I played 3 Sabotage and I could just remove everything from his hand. Turns out I actually win this game. So, amazing card. Unleashing Spirit is also, of course, a very threatening card against all of the big spells like Singularity, Falling Star, but also against the Rune Rex in LeBlanc. If he starts like spawning a lot of them and then killing them and he has like multiple Cartuses, you can actually protect your entire board with Unleashing Spirits, and he basically just kills his Riftbound Rex for nothing. With a little bit of gear hate, of course. I mean, Aura is gonna be a threat. So we have a Salvage for cheap gear removal, then we have 2 action. Finally, we also have another Ash in the sideboard if, of course, against Aurora, but against other decks where maybe they're a little bit slower, and it's gonna be very difficult for them to hold against Fiora since we're so good at fighting. So that's basically it for the video. I presented you the 2 decks that I will be playing for Unleashed. I'm very excited for Unleashed. I don't know if there's any legend from set 3 that I would like to pick up. Diana is, I think, very interesting. It looks very fun to play. I don't have much experience with those color combinations, so I'm kind of just waiting to see what's happening. But otherwise, for now, I'll be focused on Viktor and Fiora. There's great potential for Fiora, and I think Viktor definitely has a place. We just need to find the right sideboard and the right list. I hope you enjoyed the video and I gave you some ideas on what to play. The good thing with those 2 decks is that you can just upgrade them. I don't think they cost a lot. They're probably around 100 euros, like both of them, if not less. And most of the additions are actually pretty cheap. So don't hesitate to tell me like how it goes for you, if you have any suggestion on how you will play those decks. What are your inclusions, what are your changes? Or anyway, I hope you guys a good beginning of set 3, and hopefully we can see each other very soon in the next video. Alright, bye bye.